these AI softwares are getting through, they're finding these bootlegged, uploaded versions of these. And I'm sure you could do the same, right? I mean, we saw it with Napster, right? Remember Napster in the 90s? We all used it too. I mean, I don't know if we're supposed to admit it, but everyone thought it was this great. Wow.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to and watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Well, AI is all the rage. I'm using it daily in my work. It hasn't replaced me yet on this podcast or on the YouTube channel, but who knows? It might happen in the not too distant future. And that brings up a very important concern that you're going to hear about from my next guest, Kristen G. Roberts, attorney, founder, managing attorney of Trestle Law out in California. Kristen, we have like an epidemic now of AI intellectual property theft, if you will, because it could take a book, you could feed it in, it could redo that book, and it will bear absolutely no resemblance superficially on the surface to the original work. And then you can go call it yours. I mean, what are we supposed to do here?
Well, I think that's a really great jumping off point and interesting starting point, Kerry, because with the example you gave of the book, right? You can do that now. You could take a book that's already written and go you individually and rewrite that book to be a completely different book, but carry a lot of the same themes. Like, I'm allowed to write a book about a school of wizards. I'm allowed to write a book about, a school of wizards where somebody goes to the school and they get an invitation. Now, whether or not that book is substantially similar enough to constitute constitute copyright infringement, that's the legal question. And that legal question still applies with AI. And right now, people are saying, well, AI is training the AI software on all of these copyrighted materials. So it's sucking everything up off the internet and learning off of these, resources that would otherwise be paid, and they're not compensating the people who own the copyright. And that right there is the crux right now in the legal world. Is that training of AI fair use? Is it a defensible use of copyrighted materials, or is it infringement? Do they have to pay? And right now, there are some cases that are moving through the court system trying to answer that question because we don't have an answer for it.
It makes me think, I don't know how many great legal minds there really are out there now, but I think of like Clarence Darrow. What would his take be on AI? And I guess we could ask ChatGPT what it thinks his take would be, right?
Yeah, and you could do that, but I also think it's interesting because a lot of these sort of older attorney profiles, famous lawyers that you would say, what would they think? What would they do? I don't even know if they could fathom where we are right now when it comes to the AI technology or how it would be applied, because there is sort of two facets to it. There's the business side of things where, we champion in the United States innovation in business and technology. And right now, the AI companies have been going to Congress saying this is a matter of national security, because if we are not able to train our AI platforms, we are going to get outpaced by companies like China, or companies that are coming out of countries like China, and other sort of competitor AI platforms. So they're saying this is real national security stuff. This isn't just, concerns about intellectual property. I think it's an interesting argument. I'm not sure if I buy it, but it's interesting that they're going there right now.
Yeah, well, like when businesses want stuff out of government, they always call it a Sputnik moment, And that was not a Sputnik moment. I've used all of them. I've used Grok. I've used Chat. I've used Claude, and I've used DeepSeek, and I don't even bother with DeepSeek anymore because it just occurred to me it's a front end. It's a query manager for other AIs. It's not really there. That's why they're able to cut down the size of it. But it does raise interesting questions. Like, it's kind of like if you had it within your capability to read every single book that was ever written, which obviously we as humans don't, then you could do whatever you wanted with that information, rewrite it or whatever. But the fact that a machine can actually do it, the whole sum total of human knowledge as we know it, which there's always things that aren't going to be there. That's really the issue, that the machines can do it so much better than us and so much faster and completely. So, I think in theory, it's a matter of national security, but in reality, it's a matter of societal security because it's going to start replacing broad swaths of workers in the economy. And, you won't get any brownie points for originality anymore. Kristen, it's like, hey, just get the job done. We don't care how you do it.
And I also think it comes down to money as well, because, if you could, in your example, if you could theoretically read every book that was ever written, that would be fine. You could read every book, but you got to pay to read every book, right? You can't just go to the internet and find so these AI softwares are getting through, they're finding these bootlegged, uploaded versions of these. And I'm sure you could do the same, right? I mean, we saw it with Napster, right? Remember Napster in the 90s? We all used it too. I mean, I don't know if we're supposed to admit it, but everyone thought it was this great, wow, we can peer-to-peer share. Why not? Who cares? That sounds amazing. And then it turned out to be copyright infringement, right? But that law needed to be explored before. So there was at least a couple years of just unfettered sharing. And I sort of liken what's happening right now in this sort of explosion of AI technology to that, where it's like, okay, it's getting access to all of this stuff that is otherwise needing to be paid for typically. And people are getting very upset because they're like, well, hey, wait a second. If you want to train your AI software on my book, on my movie, you need to pay for that in order for your, license it from us in order to train it. And that makes sense to me. I think that there does need to be some kind of compulsory licensing like we have in music. So if you play a song on the radio, there's an automatic license that gets, applied. And I think the same thing can be said about AI. I think the rub is going to be when it comes to the licensing structure or the ability to license. We already have heard Meta's sort of higher ups coming out in a deposition recently saying, well, we tried to reach out to the publishers, but the problem is the publishers don't own the copyrights to a lot of these books. So it's not like in music where the publishing houses have the rights to license out, even though they don't own the underlying work, but they're given the exclusive right to license, right? So right now, the publishing houses for books, that's not how it's worked in print. Print, you go to the copyright owner and you ask them, and they're like, it just took us too long to track down everyone. We couldn't so it wasn't, they were like, they basically said it was too hard in a deposition. So we just decided not to do it. And I just think it's funny because, there are going to be, we need these sort of step-by-step, this is how it needs to happen. But in order to do that, we kind of need a functioning Congress because that needs to be an active Congress in order to pass that kind of legislation. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. So we're really relying on the courts to make decisions about every case that comes past them because they're deciding these cases very narrowly. They're not willing to make a broad sweeping statement saying this is how it's going to be when it comes to AI.
Dangerous because they don't really understand it. Let's face it, courts are the most conservative, reactionary in a lot of ways institution in our society, and that's the way they were designed to be. The way that they've grasped technology and use it in most courts, yeah, they've gotten better, but still, the inefficient.
But I actually think that's why it's smart that they're going very narrow and they're only deciding it on a case by case, because if you don't understand something from a very broad perspective, and I mean, Congress, we can say the same thing about Congress, quite honestly, like they don't understand that, they were asking questions. I remember a long time ago, they were interviewing Mark Zuckerberg for something. And they said, well, can you tell us what an algorithm is? And he was like, it was like, how does it work? It's like,
do I need one?
We're going to be here for a while.
And it's like rolling his eyes, right?
Yeah. And he's going, oh God, we're here. We're at this, like, we can't even get into the salient points of what we're talking about here because they don't even understand the basics of how it works, right? And the workings isn't always what even matters. It's the outcome that we're looking for, right? Like, how do you use it? Like, stop trying to understand the inner workings of it and figure out what's the effect, what's the outcome, and what are you trying to do with it? That's, in my opinion, that should be the goal when you're applying technology. Because do you remember when the internet first started, the World Wide Web, and everyone was everyone being interviewed? It was like Sally Jesse Raphael on her show, and all the talk shows were like, "What is the World Wide Web?" And they were like trying to explain how the internet worked. And you should have just told them like, okay, this is what the internet's going to be able to do. Like that, you could have gotten more buy-in a lot faster.
So I'm going to ask ChatGPT now how the court should deal with AI companies and the issue of copyright infringement and fair comment and all that. It says fair use, rather. Thank you. All right, and let's see what it says here. Real time. Great question. This issue is right at the heart of the current legal, creative, and technological debate. Let's break it down. Well, now, of course, it couldn't just give me a one-sentence answer here.
No, but you needed to ask it to give you a one-sentence answer.
I could say I can say, all right.
Don't give me any analysis, just give me the answer.
To the chase, give me the answer in 50 words or less.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to know the prompting. I didn't know it was going to give me everything it was going to give me here. Transparency and disclosure, invest in licensing agreements, respect opt-out systems. This is everything they don't want to do. Use and promote public domain and open source. Okay, you can agree on that.
Yeah.
Watermark AI-generated content. Okay.
Yeah. So I think, because I think a lot of it is going to come down to, it's going to come in chunks. We're never going to see this sweeping legislation where it all gets packaged up really nicely and it's dealt with we're seeing it in the courts already. It's going to play out on a case by case basis. We've already had one case come down. It was the Thomson Reuters case. And it was against the Ross AI intelligence, which was the legal research. So of course it started with legal research, right? Like the law, but Westlaw is sort of the premier research tool that lawyers use. I use it in my law firm, and they have these things called case headings.
It's
case headings are and the case heading sort of explains that.
Litigated. That was litigated. It just came down. Yeah. So that decision just came down in favor of Thomson Reuters, basically saying that Ross using the case notes, the head notes in Westlaw that were free and open to the public. Like you can go look those up now without needing but those were written by people. And they said, yeah, that's an infringement of the copyright. It's not fair use. You can't just use those to train your AI. But they only applied it in that very narrow case. So, but we're starting to see it unfold. And I think, we're going to see it unfold with other things as well. It's going to be writings, it's going to be music, and it's all going to kind of come on its own. So we're going to see technology continue to explode, because in 5 years, we're going to have, AI is going to be far beyond what it is right now. And the law is still going to be playing catch up 20 years behind. In a year, it will be. Interesting thing about that, the case notes, the squibs, the I can't remember right now what it was. It was so long ago since I was in law school, but we were always warned by the professor, don't trust the case notes because they're often wrong because they're written by people. I'll bet that those case notes are being written by AI now. And honestly, AI doesn't need the case notes. It just needs the case. It can create its own notes. So they were kind of cheating and actually lessening their final product by just scanning the case notes. You need the case because, the case notes are inadequate, but shepherdizing, that was it. Like the link between the case notes and the shepherdizing it and all that, you don't need any of that anymore, really. It helps. You should never just take AI's word for a case, a finding, or whatever. But it's easy enough to just click the link and you're reading the case and whether it's right or wrong. But it is like kind of a fascinating, I guess we're geeks. We're kind of fascinated by
nerds.
But here, it gave a one-line solution here, the middle ground. AI companies want to innovate. Artists and creators want protection. The public wants access and progress without mass infringement. It's kind of reasonable. The ideal solution is a system like how music royalties work.
Look at what I said.
I think it read your paper, honestly, and plagiarized you.
Probably.
Creators are compensated. AI systems can still learn, and courts step in only when someone crosses the line. We may even see the creation of a collective rights management body for AI training, similar to BMI or ASCAP.
That's music publishing. Those are music publishing houses.
All your paper here, man. I'd
That's exactly. See, look, but that's really the smart thing to do, because we already have a system that works that we can model in music, right? We already have that system. It's not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah, but what about China? They're not going to want to pay anything because they steal IP for lunch, for breakfast.
But they do that anyway, right? We fight that on a daily basis regardless. And so,
maybe there's a way here where they just don't get it unless they subscribe. Because
that's above my pay grade, Kerry. I don't know how we block them from accessing certain internet site, but maybe there are, blocks or firewalls, or there has to be more site, I'll leave that to the cybersecurity professionals to figure out for us.
All right. Well, I think we got the issue. I'll put this in the show notes. Hey, Kristen, where do we find you? Where's the best site?
Find me on my website, trestlellaw.com, TRESTLELAW.com. And I'm also on all social media outlets, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. You can find me everywhere.
All right. Excellent. Well, we'll have a link to your site in the show notes of this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. We'll be careful not to scrape any of your data. And if you've got a question for Kristen, myself, email kl@kerrylutz.com. And while you're at the site, if you just sign up for our free newsletter, like over 70,000, I think we're close to 75,000 subscribers have signed up. We'd appreciate it. It really helps with the algorithms, because we have a daily war with the YouTube algorithm, suppressing our content, suppressing me. And it luckily hasn't mattered much to me, but I would like to defeat it by any means possible. Kristen, pleasure. Talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Kerry. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.